one, if not the most important lesson for the contemporary world from the movement of German idealism that we can take is the notion of totality. It doesn't mean the absolute or the end of history. All it refers to is the unity of thought. So in order to change the world, we need to understand it in a globalized way, but very few people are able to conceptualize what that globality or globalism actually means. So they'll talk about international organizations that transcend nation states and so forth, but they're unable to see how these processes of capital and surplus are in fact interlinked and globalized in different ways. What happens is that if you don't think in terms of totality, you end up just attacking symptoms rather than the actual causes. And I think another problem here is the notion of solutionalism, so that people think, oh, we have a problem of climate change, therefore we need a solution. Again, using complexity theory, nonlinear systems, emergence, we can understand that it's not as simple as that. It goes back to this point of management and processes. Because people would say, okay, we have the notion of car, should we drive or should we not? Then you have electric cars, but the real question of totality here, or the unconditioned, is why do we need cars in the first place? This is the type of questioning that we need as a lesson from German idealism. It's thinking in the particular and the fragmentary and the non-universal that leads to this sort of solution-based thinking. So why do we need cars in the first place? Well, we need to commute. Why do we need to commute? We have jobs in other places. Why do we have jobs in other places, and so forth? This is the sort of questioning that enables you to have a totalizing mode of thought that you can actually start to change things, I believe. I think ultimately, being trained in philosophy and history of philosophy, the value for society, despite what many scientists or finance or other people tend to think, for me, I think philosophy has this ultimately mystical element to it, because when you start to read philosophy, regardless of any canon, you realize that the things that exist, are not only conditioned on certain historical contexts and conditions and so forth, but that the world is not what it seems, and that when you start to think, that then the world changes. I think this is another tenet of German idealism here. It's not that thought moves matter, but if you change the way you think about something, then the very process by which you're involved in that context will then start to change. That's what I think is the most important lesson for philosophy for today's society, regardless if you're in finance, a librarian, or anything.